Hi everyone, Aviad Cohen at AV Master. I'm here with Mike Blackman, dear Managing Director at ISE. Mike,
Hi, Aviad. Glad to be here.
it's good to see you. Actually, I can't believe we're having this interview afterwards. And like, if you told me like 3 months ago this would happen, I would be like, "Are you sure it did happen?" It would.
Well, I can tell you, we're glad it happened. I'm always the optimist. So for me, it's always, trying to make sure everything possible to make things happen. We had to postpone. In December, we were pretty sure that we were going ahead with February. But we looked at the COVID numbers and said, we can't risk this for the safety of our exhibitors, our attendees, and the people. And we talked with the ministries, with the local government, with the city government, and they worked with us. And we said, okay, we think it's right to postpone. But as soon as we did that and we looked to see how things were improving, we said, we're sure we're going to have this. So, from that day onwards, it was the train's not stopping. Yeah.
Yeah, it was well felt, and I think the numbers were just about as you described with our pre-ISC interview. I'm glad. I think it hit about the 10% radius. It was good, and but my question to you would be like, not from exhibitors, not from a visitors' point of view. What would your personal summary, personal experience summary would be for this ISE?
For me, one of the most exciting ISEs I've ever done. We had a big challenge to actually go ahead with this. We did a lot of new things. We had we had the immersive art gallery. We had 2 projection mapping events. We had 2 great keynotes. We had a lot of new exhibitors. We didn't have as many exhibitors as we normally had, but those who were there had a fantastic show. So, that for me is the measuring point. What do the exhibitors tell me and what the attendees tell me? And the funniest thing is the exhibitors always talk to me, and they're always quite happy to give their views, etc. But this year I had a really strange experience. People were stopping me in the aisles and saying hello, attendees, and telling me what a great show and taking selfies with me. And I said to one of my people on the second day, I said, this is, I'm getting stopped by everybody. This is really surprising. And he looked at me, he said, what do you mean surprising? I said, well, I don't get this normally. He said, Mike, you told them to do it. I said, what do you mean? He said, your hologram, they're all passing at the beginning. You're telling them, if you see me, stop me and say hi. I thought, oh, no.
I I know a certain Israeli press magazine that had a selfie with you. Just sure I worked there. Mike, what did you deduce from the dynamics at ISC 2022? The number of visitors, Barcelona, the venue itself. We personally enjoyed the space and we liked being there and getting around easily. We love the facilities. So what were the reactions you received?
Well, I think the first thing is that, and I think this was just the chance that we had to restart, to reboot how we do ISE. So we looked at the setup. Firstly, we had much bigger halls, fewer but bigger halls, structured. There's this backbone that goes all the way through the middle, and everything goes off left to right. So we said this is great to actually start doing the geographical planning, how people get to where. But also to try and structure the different areas. ISE is normally a really big show that you cannot get around in 4 days. So what we said is, how can we help our attendees, firstly, to go and see the things they really must see and have to see that's related to their business, and then decide on where they go afterwards. So by restructuring and trying to place our exhibitors in zones that are more relative to the business, it helps the attendees plan a lot better. So we got a lot of commentary about that, and people were really pleased that we did something like that. The second thing was that we had a great attendance, and we saw that in numbers, not as high as we've had in our last show, but what we saw, and we're just getting the statistics out, is the level. It is more and more senior management. So obviously we want more people from companies. And, the first ISEs built up with senior management, and then they started to bring their employees and their technicians. And we've gone back at the moment to this year where it's been more the senior people. And we see that in the level and the positions of the people who registered. What we hope now is they'll start next year coming back and saying, okay, I'm going to bring my technical department or, other people within my organization to attend. And we've got to build that back up again. So, these are some of the positive things. All in all, I really enjoyed the show myself. And more importantly, was seeing people again in the flesh for the first time in 2 years. And I think that was the resounding message we heard from most people. Isn't it good to be back? Isn't it good to meet in person? And, you saw on everywhere, think about it. A year ago, we weren't hugging people. We were fist bumping and elbow bumping and stuff like that. People were hugging.
Yeah, just a small exclamation mark. This we hugged like 4 months into the pandemic because it's Israel. We tried these and
Yeah.
these and those, but this we embraced when we met because that's how we know it. But I would
Yeah.
agree, in Europe it's a little bit colder, so it's different.
Well, in Spain, people hug. And that was, throughout the pandemic, I was traveling backwards and forwards to Barcelona. And, as they got stricter about the situation, you could see Spanish people feeling really awkward in greeting you. They wanted to hug, but it was this holding back. And now you see you see this freedom is there again. And we saw a lot of that going on at ISE, and I must admit, it's nice.
It is great.
Yeah.
Mike, the one of the things we heard several times was about related to innovation. So some visitors claim that they expected more, after 2 years. And on the other hand, was a lot of innovation stemming from the pandemic, a lot of, like UC related, and signage was exploding everywhere. So it's things that really, you couldn't foresee before the pandemic, but it made sense they would be there after the pandemic. You saw a lot of them. I think before the interview, I mentioned that one of the visitors told me he felt or thought the UC and learning technologies was about 3 or 4, 5 times bigger than the last time. And could it be that the last 2 years have left some of the technologies areas unanswered? Some things we didn't look at.
I mean, I can tell you the UC area has grown. I wish it was 5 times, and but I'm happy when people imagine that. But yeah, it has grown, and it will grow even more. I think we've all seen that during the pandemic, whilst those companies involved in live events suffered badly, those who were actually supplying UC solutions and collaboration and communication tools actually boomed, because the working from home meant demand grew for this sector. So obviously that grew, and that did extremely well. We had other areas that have come back and have done quite well. There were a lot of times, a lot of manufacturers were showing products and solutions in person for the first time. They didn't stop during the pandemic not launching new products. So they may have actually shown some of those online or in closed, smaller groups. So we didn't have as many product launches as we had in the past. We certainly did have quite a lot, though, of product launches. There's certainly more than a couple of hundred in there that I'm aware of. We also have something called the Discovery Zone. And this is where we subsidize smaller companies. They have to pay, but we discovered something a long time ago, that many companies, small companies who are just in a startup, particularly in Israel, startup nation, who say, we'd love to be there and we have some really cool stuff, but, we're a two-man business and we can't afford to do this. And, I looked at this and said, actually, that's our pipeline for growth. If we can help these companies be successful, they're the ones who we give, we work with them on a 4 square meter booth this year, and maybe in 5 years' time, they're taking 100 square meters because they're successful. So we started a program called the Discovery Zone. It's limited. in that it's for startup companies or smaller companies or first time to ISE companies. They're only allowed to do it for 2 years, 2 consecutive shows. And then once they've done that, they have to go in with a normal booth, which costs more. So, we subsidize the price for this for new companies. We help them get on the ladder. We help them to actually meet partners. We put them in a very prominent place. If you go to the US shows, it doesn't matter what industry, all these little companies are tucked away at the back. We always put them in a place where everyone's going to find them because we say, okay, we want them to be successful. We want people to find them. We want people to see what these companies are doing. And we do this in the middle of the show in the Congress Square, it's called. And that's, you've got that central corridor that goes through the middle. At the end of that, there's a big open area. And we put them in there. And there are about 30 odd companies in there that were in the ISE Discovery Zone. Then on top of that, you had the Catalonia Pavilion, which is where the government of Catalonia brings companies. They had about 35 companies on theirs. And then the city of Barcelona had one as well, where they had about another dozen companies. So we had all these startup companies in there who were showing innovative and new solutions. So again, you'll see new things that are coming to market, new creative ideas, and we'll keep doing this because we see the benefit for our long-term growth.
It's interesting, it's keeping innovation in the center. I think that would be the message. We at AV Master have been covering ISE for some years now, and so we always keep an eye on what's going on. We've witnessed some amazing growth of the show and the frustrating halt from the pandemic. And even so, we've been actively, for us, actively trying to add more and more fields of technology. And you are adding always more layers of technology to the show. What could we expect in 3 years' time? What could you imagine that will be?
Wow, 3 years' time. I mean, this industry, what I love about this industry is it moves so fast. We have really creative people coming up with new ideas the whole time. What you saw this year was a big emphasis on immersive experiences. Not only what we were doing with our immersive gallery, but you saw on so many booths where they were showing their solutions in this direction. So this was really good. We have to look. I don't know what the trends will be in 3 years' time. That's what keeps me excited, that there will always be something new and I always learn more. I don't have a crystal ball there. I wish I did. I know some of the things that we are planning, and if we speak again in 2-3 months' time, then I'll have some surprises for you.
I'm going to take you on that. So, if you're not a crystal ball trend person, that means you're an innovator yourself. What could you tell us that ISE 2023 would look like?
Certainly, it's going to be bigger. That's the first thing, because there are a substantial number of exhibitors who are not able to participate this year for various reasons. Our proximity to the Infocom show meant there were 1 or 2 American companies that could not be there. Just logistically for them to do 2 shows in 4 weeks and get their boots across just didn't work for them. We missed a substantial number of Chinese and companies who just could not travel. So we're hoping that all things being good, that we will get all these companies back for ISE 2023. So you'll see a substantially larger show. The second thing is that there are some other areas that we are developing. We're looking in the area of e-games. E-gaming is something where the AV industry plays a big part in these live events. And we have a substantial number of companies that said, we need to have some focus here. We need to bring this to the forefront and show integrators, to show live events companies, to show innovators here how our industry can enhance this. We're going to see a lot more about content creation and content delivery. It's been a part that you see it in the Infocom shows, you see it in a number of other shows, and We know more and more the AV companies are getting involved. You're seeing broadcast companies being more interested now to see what the AV solutions are for them here. So again, we have a number of companies who've said they want to be in 23 to show that. And I'm sure there's going to be a host of other things that you're going to see there.
You gave me a lot to think about, and you gave us a lot to look forward to. I will pick you up on that 2 to 3 months follow-up conversation. I'm really hoping to get some more exciting news. Mike Blackman, Managing Director of ISE, in a post ISE 2022 that took place. It has been a pleasure, as always, and looking forward for more exciting news.
Me too. Always a pleasure to talk with you, Aviad, and I look forward to telling you more exciting things about what's going to happen in 23 in a couple of months' time.
Will do. See you then.
See you then. Thank you.
Thank you.